Our favorite fruit got totally crushed today. Apple was obliterated when it comes to the stock market. Now, thinking of the largest company in the S&P 500, around 7.18% of the total index itself. What happened today with Apple? Shares of the iPhone and the iPad from maker Apple fell 5.6 points this morning in the morning session after the market started to tumble, extending the weakness that we've seen from the last week as the trade war is continuing, especially with China. Now, over the weekend, President Trump was saying a lot of things about the recession worries, and he didn't ease anything when he made the comment, we are now in a period of transition, is what he was referring to, the stock market and how the market is really struggling. The sell-off is really pronounced in the tech sector, which a lot of people were saying absolutely overvalued. NASDAQ went down another 3% in correction territory today. S&P 500 went down another 2%. Now, when we start thinking on what is going on with Apple, the market is telling us Apple shares are very volatile. We know that Warren Buffett has been slowly and continues to sell all of his shares out of Apple. And when we look at the 20 moves greater than 2.5% just in the last year, so we have seen an extended amount of volatility when it comes to Apple. Now, in that context, when the market moves like this, you have to remember we have a global company. When you think of iPhones, when you think of Apple, they are having a really tough time with the tariffs that are being put in point in China. Also looking at artificial intelligence. Now, it shows that in 2024, Apple sales overall fell about 17% in China. In Q4, they fell 25% alone, bringing the stock and continuing to send this tumbling. Now, Apple is down 7.7% already this year, sitting at $225 a share, but does it fall into that buy category that we talk about? It's trading 13% below its peak, which of course was December of 2024, coming in at $259. Investors who bought $1,000 worth of Apple shares 5 years ago would be looking at about $3,000 today. So pretty big indication to where this company is doing. So let's hop over to Tip Ranks, break this down and show you exactly kind of what we're thinking when it comes to this company itself. Now, as it sits right now, trading at $280.46 or 84 cents, down $6.64 or roughly 3%. Now, of course, this is after the market. You can see it did close at 4 o'clock today when the market normally closes. Now, you'll notice Apple stock smart scores comes in at 6. We've seen a couple much higher, thinking of NVIDIA, which was coming in at 9, thinking of Apple Oven coming in at 8, Palantir actually came in at 7. So even coming significantly lower than that. Now, when we start looking at the market cap, $3.42 trillion is the market cap for Apple. So it is an absolute monster company. And like I said earlier, it is the largest company by weight that they are holding within the S&P 500. So what do the analysts think? We know what's going on with it from a global perspective, but looking and starting breaking down the 5-day down 6.5%. Doesn't make it a really strong buy. Looking at our 3 months, down almost 11% in the entirety from in the last 3 months, which again is kind of crazy. Even year to date, we're down almost 12%. When we go back to 1 year, we know last year and really 2023, 2024 was incredibly strong for the tech side with AI really driving that force. But when we start looking at 3 year, around 50%, so not performing where we'd want to see Apple at, especially being such a large tech company. 5 years, we get to 277, so still doing pretty well. Analyst forecast on this one is saying a moderate buy. Now, this is very interesting to me because we know we've had a lot that have had some solid buys. Again, thinking of Apple Oven was still a moderate buy. Thinking of NVIDIA, it was a strong buy. Thinking of, Palantir, that was I believe it was just a hold on that one. So looking at the analysts, they're saying around $250, which gives a 13% upside. Looking at the high amount, they're saying $325. But if we look at the low, if the slump continues with the sales that we are seeing in China, really in the global markets, and also they're looking for a lot of things to adjust when it comes to the product with the iPhone in general, mainly the Siri, the functionality, the AI that a lot of people are not too happy with. So when we look at our AI stock analysis, well poised, strong financial performance, doing pretty well, outperform at a 76 score is what they place it into. Positive factors, new iPhone 16e, compelling value for consumers in a large form. Apple announces several new Mac and iPad products, including MacBook Air M4 processors, which should support the revenue growth. But the big thing is there's a delay in the upgrade to Siri upgrade as part of the 18.4 update, which could negatively impact the iPhone, the refresh this year. But when we start thinking about the S&P 500, and this is really what I want to look at, is you can see S&P 500 looking at the last 3 months, Apple has taken a really, really big dive, looking at the negative 11%, where if you were just investing in the broader index, in the SPY, in that VOO, you'd be down roughly 7%. When we look at our 6 months, still SPY was actually positive, just barely. Apple's still sitting in the negative, going back another 6 months. In the 1 year, you can see Apple is outperforming in that 1 year, just because, again, the big push that we've seen in the tech side and that sector itself. So overall, my professional opinion, I am not a financial advisor by any means, but I do watch stocks and I do watch ETFs. I'm watching the market pretty much every single day. Is I can see it just being a hold. I really wouldn't put it so much as a moderate buy, even though the price has a pretty decent pullback. I feel like there's a lot of companies that are either much, much lower, down a lot further than an 11%. That could be a solid buy. But overall, holding this in my QQQM, also holding this in the VOO, is just going to sit on a hold. And again, looking at 18 buys, 11 holds, 4 sells. There are some analysts that are actually getting rid of this, which again is pretty interesting. Some that are buying some more shares, but I always follow the case of, Warren Buffett, like I was talking about earlier, where he has been net selling Apple for a considerable amount of time. And that was after they finally got him to invest in a lot more of the tech side of everything. Apple, of course, was a baby. He still owns a lot of shares when it comes to Apple, but overall reducing exactly what he's holding within that portfolio. So what do we see for the future of Apple? If they can get some of these products right, if we can figure out what in the world is going on with tariffs, it's going to be an absolute game changer. Because again, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if we're going to see these massive tariffs that are coming from China, that are coming from President Trump. Only time is going to tell exactly what it does look like for some of these companies. And as you can see, it's sitting right at neutral. The Smart Score overall, multinational technology company, really headquartered in California, as you can see. Dividends, very low, a 0.42 dividend yield. So if you're buying this for the dividend, absolutely do not. There are so many better ones out there. News and insight for this, I'm looking at AI and what exactly it's going to look like. They're looking at Tesla, NVIDIA. They're looking at a lot of different places of exactly what the sentiment is going to be. Gears up for a bold software overhaul. So we are seeing a little news about what is going on, but I know over on the right side, it's talking about recession. It's talking about fear. It's talking about plummeting. But as you know, and as we've talked about before, when people are fearful, that is the time to be greedy. Again, going back to the Warren Buffett philosophy of knowing exactly what to do in the right time. We know he pulled out of the S&P 500, got rid of, the SPY and the VOO, eliminated all of his positions in there. So you can see after hours trading a little bit up, but still staying just kind of flat for where it has been. Sorry, guys. So that is going to do it for today's video. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. And as always, thank you guys for watching.